Welcome back to Auto Technic, and today we're talking oil leaks. Specifically, we're talking about the junction of the cylinder head to the block to the front timing cover on this F430. So before we really get into the specifics on this 430, I do think it's important to mention that what we're going to be covering today does not only apply to 430s. It really applies to all the chain-driven Ferrari engines that are not turbocharged. So it applies to both the V12 and the V8. For V12s, this pretty much starts all the way back with the Enzo, which is the first chain-driven V12 Ferrari engine of the modern era. And they're still using that basic configuration now, and this problem exists on all of those cars. V8s, this starts at the 430, it goes up through the California, the 458. It also transfers over to the Maseratis that use the base of the 430 engine. So with that, what we're going to talk about covers a lot of cars, broad topic, although the specifics that we're going to be talking about today is on this F430. Now on to our 430 here. It was actually in the shop several weeks ago where I was doing a post-purchase inspection. So this client had purchased the car from out of the area, was not able to get the inspection done on it before he bought it. He ended up going through with the deal and just wanted me to look over the car to assess and evaluate its condition. And fortunately, the car is in really great condition, and there wasn't a whole lot that I did notate or find on it. But one of the few things I did find on it was this front timing case leak. I'm going to refer to this leak as our T-junction from now on, but it's really the area where the timing cover meets both the block and head, where all three of those items intersect at one point. So I did notate that to him, and I did tell him that it's a very common leak. It's very typical, not an unusual leak at all, and it's a bit of a problem area. That's hence why I'm making this entire video. So with that, we kind of need to jump back or look at a broader picture on this car, and that's because the client bought this car, and we had planned all along to be putting in a Cambio Manuele manual conversion kit. So I knew that we're going to be doing that work to the car, and I was able to just basically leverage that opportunity because I knew that I'd have most of the interior out. I'd have the seats out for the conversion. I'd have most of my trim back here out. So it wasn't going to take that much more labor for me to get the rear trim off back here, get our access panel off to get to the engine, so that way I can accurately diagnose and figure out what's going on with the oil leak. Now, it's a little bit dependent, right? We're kind of seizing the opportunity because we're already there. If we were just to dive in to do this just for the diagnosis, it's quite a bit of labor to pinpoint exactly where that leak is coming from. And I will say on these oil leaks, it's a very subjective repair, meaning it really varies greatly depending on the car, the owner, the intended use of the car. So the fix for the leak is the same across all of those cars, but the cost of the fix is pretty expensive to do this all in. And on some cars, it's not justifiable. So if you have a, let's say for an example, an 80,000 mile 430 that's a daily driver, it's probably not realistic to go all in to fix this repair. Let's say you have a 1,000 mile Ferrari Enzo that's worth several $1,000,000. It's probably worth it at that point because it obviously has an effect on the value of the car. So that's really the main point why I'm talking about this, because what needs to be done for this repair is pretty black and white, although the cost is really what's prohibitive of it. And it's worth talking about, giving you guys the options, the details, that information. So here we are. You can see that we seized the opportunity. I'm most of the way done with my conversion, so I'm actually stopping so I can now address our oil leak right there. And you can see all of that residual around our idler pulley. And that is our power steering pump right there. And you can't see it very well, but our AC compressor is below that. There's not a lot we need to do up here on the top side at this moment. Is what I actually need to do is get under the car. I need to remove the AC compressor and move that aside. I'm going to remove the power steering pump, move that aside, and that's going to give us a lot of visibility. Ultimately, we're going to be cleaning this area up, applying some trace powder so we can identify the exact cause of this leak. But before we do that, I'm going to get in the car in the air, and I'm going to show you guys the view from underneath, and you'll see how access is pretty tight, and it's really hard to identify what the true source of this leak is. Okay, so we're underneath the car at the front of the engine. We can see our AC compressor right there, our power steering pump right above it, our belt tensioner there, and if we kind of look right in between the belt tensioner, the AC compressor pulley, and the power steering pump pulley, you can see on the timing cover all that grime and grease, and that's really the easiest and most visible spot we have to see that from the bottom side. Obviously, once I got that front cover off on the top side, it's a lot more visible. You'll note that there's nothing down here on the oil pan. So again, this is a subjective repair that is leaking. It's not dripping. We'll talk about that in a little bit on kind of what is an appropriate repair and when is an appropriate time to fix it. But over here, you can look around the AC compressor. We have our engine mount there. We can kind of see our head gasket up there, and it looks pretty clean right there. So we know it's all isolated up in the front, right up there. So potential causes of this oil leak is our T-junction or our power steering pump. So in order to identify what is the true source of the leak, I am going to remove our accessory belt here. I'm going to drop our AC compressor out of the way. Fortunately, I can keep the lines hooked up and the system charged and just move it off to the side. I'm going to work the power steering pump out of the way and take our tensioner itself off. And that's really going to open it up so I can show you guys exactly what we're working with on the inside. All right, so I got the AC compressor removed. It's held out of the way with my ratchet strap. I just got it strapped around the lift. That way I don't have any tension up here on my lines. Our power steering pump is just sitting up there on the frame, kind of resting on the header. And I will say that we get to this back side, you can see that there's a bunch of residual on there, but I don't think that's the source of the leak. The whole reason we're in here now is to diagnose it, meaning I'll get all of this cleaned off. But areas where these can leak, not as likely, but it can leak out of the shaft seal up here at the front. It can leak out of the case halves here, which those aren't as likely. More than likely, it's going to leak over here where the hoses and lines come in. So for now, we're just going to set that up and out of the way. And we also have our belt tensioner off, and you can see that we have all kinds of visibility, and I can get you guys right up in here. And this is really the problem area that I'm talking about. So when I say T-junction, that's because we have this intersection of our cylinder block right here, our cylinder head up here, and this front timing cover, and the problem area is where all three of those intersect. With everything under here and all this grease and grime, it's going to be hard to talk about and show you what I want to show you. So I'm going to get the car all cleaned up. I'm going to clean the power steering pump off, get all this residual off. I'm going to get all of this cleaned off. I'll take this tensioner here off and do that all from the top side. I've already come through and documented this with pictures so I can show the client now that we have great visibility. But in order to continue with the diagnosis and show you guys what I'm talking about, we got to get all this off of there cleaned up. So I'm going to get all this cleaned up, and then I'll bring you guys back so I can show you what is usually the culprit. Looking so much better. So here we are looking from inside the car at the top side, and we can see how much cleaner and nicer all of that is looking. Really got all that grime and residual off, which is really going to aid us in being able to determine where the source of this leak is coming from. Now let's get the car back in the air, and I'll show you the bottom side. All right, guys, so truth be told, it is now 2 days later. The reality of this situation is I'm doing a lot of work to this car, not just this oil leak. So I've been jumping around trying to do the work in the most efficient manner possible, which unfortunately is not the most efficient filming process, as I have to kind of jump in and out of different videos. So I'm just now getting back to the oil leak today, and I'm about to put the trace powder on the engine. But before I do so, I want to jump you guys down on the bottom, because our bottom side gives us the best view of our main talking point. So let's get you guys down underneath here. And, well, it pretty much looks as we'd expect, right? It's all cleaned off. There's no oil, no residual off. I already did the same for the power steering pump. And is what I wanted to show you down here before we cover it with trace powder is right up there. So you can see our T-junction. This is our block right here. This is our head, and this is our timing cover. And really the thing I want you to note is that little piece of red sticking out. That is critically important and really going to be our main talking point. So I have everything cleaned. We have great access down here. I'm going to get the trace powder back on. I'll bring you guys back and show you what it's going to be looking like after our trace powder is on. And then we're going to talk about that junction and that mystery red piece. Okay, so here's what we're going to look at with the trace powder on. You can see it doesn't look quite as nice. It's a little messy, but it's basically like a white talc powder. And when there's any kind of leak, oil leak, it's going to leave a very dark, just a trail where it runs down. So this trace powder makes it very easy to identify where the actual source of a leak is. So I have it up here. So if it's maybe like, say, a valve cover, I'm going to see that trail starting to come down. Or if it is from our T-junction, we're going to see the wetness start here, starting to come down. Or if it's back further from a head gasket. Or if it's just from the timing case. Really, that's the whole point of why we got down here and did this, was to get everything cleaned off, get this powder on, so that way I'm able to identify the exact course of the leak. This may seem pretty excessive for a leak, but there's really a lot to this on the proper repair. So let's jump out from underneath the car and we'll run through that. Okay, so we got all the oil cleaned off the engine, we got our trace powder on, and this might seem like a fair amount of work that we're going through to confirm what seems like a simple oil leak, but I'm actually going through all of this because the oil leak isn't as complicated as the different repair options or paths that we have to take forward from this point. Meaning, the proper repair or the repair that I'll advise to a client is very situational, it's very subjective, and it can range greatly in cost and complexity. Now, I will say the first couple times that I had this oil leak in this area, I initially thought, it's a front timing cover gasket, so then I end up selling a front timing cover gasket. Now, fortunately, on most models, you can get the front timing cover off and the timing cover gasket replaced with the engine in the car. Case in point, on this 430, it's pretty easy to access and get that off. It does require removal of the valve covers. Obviously, you have to remove the interior trim, get that access panel out. You can get that taken care of. I mentioned on this video that this really applies to all naturally aspirated, chain-driven modern Ferrari engines, including V12s. So obviously on the V12 cars, you have all the access in the world. It's the engines in the front of the car. So like your F12s, 812s, stuff like that, you can get to it. 599s. Front engine V8 cars, California, same thing. You can get to it and get the front timing cover off. I will say, like on a mid-engine car like the Enzo, I have done timing cover gaskets on an Enzo. You can get that front timing cover off, although you have almost zero space. You have maybe an inch and a half in between the carbon fiber tub in the front of the engine. There's no access panels you can take off to get access to the front timing cover. You're just working blind by reaching up in there. But you can get those timing covers off, is what I'm trying to say, and put a gasket on. And it's at the real big picture, it's not an ultimately incredibly expensive and time-consuming repair. Now, on the first couple of cars that I went through and put a timing cover on, I did notice that red silicone. It's kind of pushed off to the side. A couple times I've tried to leave it there. Other times I've removed it, tried to put some silicone where it was at, put the new timing cover gasket on, get the car reassembled, give it back to the client. And I can tell you that, honestly, I've had a really low success rate with that method. Is what I ended up determining over the years is the leak is not coming from the timing cover gasket. These timing cover gaskets are almost like a real thin piece of metal that's coated with a kind of a compressible fabric or like coating. So there's really not much on there for those to fail. And the entire problem and source of this leak is that small piece of red silicone that I showed you. Now, all of these cars use the same style head gasket, or it's a MLS head gasket, or it's a multiple layers of steel head gasket that are riveted and compressed together. And that little piece of red silicone is actually bonded to those head gaskets when they're brand new. Since we can see that silicone, it's pushing out, that means that that silicone has actually broken free from the head gasket and is starting to slide out. So that is more than likely the actual source of this leak. Now, once I discovered this while I was working on these cars, I initially thought like, okay, so that silicone's the problem. Let me remove it. Let me get that gap where that silicone was at in between the block and the head clean the best that I can. I'm going to clean this out amazing. You know, tons of brake clean, compressed air, let it sit overnight, really put a lot of effort in getting that cleaned, and then put a really good sealant in there. I usually use a 3-bond, I think it's 1217H, get that packed in there real tight, and then put on my new timing cover gasket and reassemble the car. And I figured I can get it packed in there good enough to replace the void where that silicone was at, and we should be set. I've had really low success with that, honestly. I've had a couple where it seemed to work okay, but the long run, they end up leaking again. So it doesn't really make sense why I'm not able to get that cleaned out, that silicone packed in there, and that problem gone, but that's just my experience. So I can tell you that really the best fix, the best course of action is to replace the head gasket. Now, this is where I said this is very situational and subjective. Case in point, this car has 18,000 miles. It's nearly 20 years old. I'm going to presume that nobody's gone in there and cleaned this leak up. So what we saw there for a leak is the remains of 18,000 miles of use and 20 years of age. I would say that's a pretty minor leak under those circumstances. Now, current values of 430s range anywhere from, $150 to maybe $200,000. And putting a front timing cover gasket and attempting to reseal that silicone on a $150,000 car seems like a pretty sensible repair. Maybe it's worth the risk if it works or doesn't work. And the cost to put a head gasket on, say, a 430, that kind of gets, I would almost say, unreasonable, where the cost of that repair in proportion to the value of the car is a little bit biased, where that seems a little extreme. Maybe the client's fine with leaving the leak just as it is, and the car could be used as a daily driver where he's not so worried about it. But the example I used earlier to flip this script a little bit, what if this is a 1,000 mile Enzo that's worth $4 million? And the gentleman's getting ready to sell it, and a new owner is going to buy it and do an inspection, and it has that leak. Well, the leak's probably not that bad. It's not jeopardizing anything on the car, but it is affecting the value of the car. And the cost of that repair to, say, do a head gasket and fix it is probably going to be less than what the cost of leaving a leak on the car is going to affect the overall value of the car. So that's two extreme examples. I tried to pick them on the other end of the spectrum, from most sensible to the most unreasonable at the Enzo. But that's really the reality of the situation. Is anytime I encounter this leak, I need to assess the age of the car, the mileage, the use, the condition of the car, and really the owner's expectations and his attitude towards having a leak on the car. That's, in a nutshell, why I go through all this effort to get the trace powder on, everything cleaned up. And really what we're going to do from here is I'm going to reassemble this car. Why I have it here under my care and control, I'm going to try to run it as much as possible to see if I can see any evidence of that leaking. I doubt that I will, and really next time I get the car in, I'll be able to pull the under tray, and we can monitor this over a period of time and see not only the exact location where the leak is at, but also the rate of the leak, how bad it is. And then I can talk to the client and give him the options of what the best path forward is on repairing it, and see if he wants to try to, we really have a couple options, right? We can leave the leak as is. We can try to replace the front timing cover gasket, pull out that silicone and pack it, moderate success rate. Sometimes it does work. Or we could jump all the way in and do a head gasket, which is kind of extreme. And I try to steer away from just immediately selling that. It's why I go through all this work, so that way we can see really what we're looking at. That's really, in a sense, why I made this video, because it seems like a simple leak, but there's really a lot to talk about. I mean, heck, I daily drive a Toyota Tacoma, and I can tell you a leak that we saw in this car on my truck, I'm going to ignore. I'm not going to pay attention to. I also happen to have my E39 M5 that it's a leisure, pleasurable car that I have, kind of a hobby car, and I would not tolerate that leak. I would absolutely chase after it and fix it, almost no matter what the source of the leak is or what it took to repair it. And that's kind of the difference on these cars. It's a minor leak, but over my years of experience, I found that most owners really want them maintained in a manner that is in the best condition possible, really the highest standards, and their tolerance for oil leaks and oil seeps are much lower than what would be deemed standard on a regular production car. All right, so I've been rambling on about this oil leak long enough. I need to jump back to this car, get everything reassembled, and finish up all the work I have in front of me. I hope you guys picked up some tips and tricks in this video, maybe you learned a little bit of something, and well, as always guys, you know the drill. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment below. As always, I greatly appreciate your support, and we'll see you on the next one.